Imagine a person whom American viewers once literally voted in a TV guide poll as the embodiment of everything that's wrong with our country. The most hated villain in the entire history of reality television. A man who has been sued, gone bankrupt, sold worthless crystals, and was kicked out of an entire country, Costa Rica, because he tried to board a plane with hunting rifles. And now imagine that this very man is just a step away from becoming the head of the second largest city in the United States of America. And the people who run this city are truly afraid of him. And this is where things get really interesting. Because the longer you look at this story, the more you can't shake the thought. What if this clown, this villain, this showman is the most honest one? What has happened to Los Angeles over all these past years? Today, I'll tell you where it came from, what it really represents, who stood behind it on the right and on the left, and why the commercials it makes get tens of millions of views overnight, and it drives the political machine of an entire state crazy, and at the end, why all of this concerns not only Los Angeles and not only California, but strangely enough, all of us in general. His name is Spencer Pratt. Who is this man? Let's be honest from the very beginning. Spencer Bro is not a senator, not a general, not a professor. He is a product of the very genre that he himself partly invented. He was born in Los Angeles in '83. His father is a dentist, a boy from a good, as they say, well-off family, prestigious school, Santa Monica. Then television. In the mid-2000s, he found himself at the center of a show called The Hills. One of those shows that pretended to show the real lives of the young and beautiful, but in reality, everything was scripted down to the last breath. And that's where Spencer found his role. No, not the hero. No, the villain. Everyone wanted to be the hero. No one wanted to be the villain, the very villain that viewers love to hate. He spread rumors about himself. He caused quarrels. He schemed. He got married, by the way. He married his partner, Heidi Montana. That's right. And together, after agreeing like, let's do this, they became what in America is called by a single nickname, Spidey. A couple that the whole country hated but loved to hate. They drove the public crazy, and they did it so masterfully that one host, Live on Air, called them everything that's wrong with America. They faked their divorce just for publicity. They flew to talk shows in the jungle and caused scandals there. They spent millions and went bankrupt. There was a period when this couple, according to their own words, had almost nothing left, and they lived with their parents. And then something interesting happened. While serious people wrote off Spencer Pratt as a has-been, he quietly built something for himself that serious people didn't even have. Something direct and unmediated, a connection with millions, crystals, TikTok, endless live streams, and in January 2026, he released a book. Do you know what it was called? The Guy You Love to Hate. A Villain's Confession. It was released instantly in a huge print run. Remember this title because someone who writes The Villain You Love to Hate on the cover in his own hand is not a simple or foolish person, a person who understands himself and us very well. And as we will soon see, understands much better than those who are used to mocking him. So the day has come, as we say here, when it's no longer funny. When did that happen, and what was it? On January 7th, 2025, fire came to Pacific Palisades. Well, we all remember it, of course, right? Karen Bass, our, excuse my language, mayor, our absolutely brilliant governor. Okay, I'll stop. The Pratt's house, the one they bought for $2.5 million, the one that finally became theirs for this family, it burned down completely. Along with the whole neighborhood, along with thousands of other houses. Their whole life was there. Their whole life. And here, ladies and gentlemen, in our light comedy, the lights go out and a completely different movie begins. Because when people were clearing the ashes of their homes, questions started to arise that the city had no answers for. Why was there no water coming from the hydrants in the Palisades during the fire? Where did the money go for what you said you did? Well, just like in Ukraine, right? So they sent the howitzers, but the money meant to fix them was stolen. Why was the reservoir that was supposed to supply those hydrants empty? It was under repairs that, so to speak, never seemed to end. It never ended, like the repairs just never finish on their own. Of course, they don't finish by themselves. You have to actually do them and complete them. Why was it that about every fifth hydrant in the Palisades area wasn't connected to anything at all? Not to anything. So even if there was water. And the question that hung over the whole city, where is it? Where is Mayor Karen Karenbess? Where is she? And the mayor? And the mayor was in Ghana, in Africa, at the inauguration of the president of Ghana. This was after the meteorologists had already issued a warning about dangerous fire conditions, and I really wanted to go to Ghana. There are photos where she is posing at a reception hosted by the American ambassador. Gentlemen, this was an hour and a half after the Palisades caught fire. She flew halfway around the world on a military plane, which took nearly a day. She'll admit it later, maybe under pressure. This trip was a mistake. Ha. She'll say the right words, the ones her speechwriters wrote for her. I hate that I wasn't in the city, when the city needed me the most, more than ever. You left knowing the city would need you. Well, you just really wanted to go to Ghana for the inauguration. And later there will be an investigation by the Los Angeles Times about the city's actions during the fire. Well, an analysis of the mistakes. It was, to put it mildly, edited. That is, before the commission's report reached us. She herself. The mayor and her people removed it, softened it. They changed everything. The mayor's office denies it, saying, "No, what are you talking about?" It's similar to what Yeltsin did with the Constitution. He got it and gave it to Philippe. Philippe completely changed everything that was important there. They stuffed in pages. Right, and they swore that this was the real thing. And now put yourself in Spencer Pratt's shoes. Not a TV villain. Right, a man whose house just burned down, who has 2 kids, and who suddenly found out that the city he paid taxes to was busy with anything but him during the disaster. And then he decided not to pay attention to anyone here anymore. He sued Los Angeles and the local water company. He went to Washington. Well, after all, people knew him there. He could afford to bang on the table, shout, and say, "Those crooked people in Los Angeles are bastards," and they told him, "Well, then re-elect her." He stood up. No one expected that from him, in the voice of the fire victims. Not as a politician, well, loudly, like a loudspeaker. But at the same time, he has channels on all sorts of YouTubes, TikToks, and so on through which he talks to millions of people. It seems that back then he wasn't thinking about a political career at all. But there, he went wild, just like all of us. Exactly 1 year later, to the day, on January 7th, 1926, on the anniversary of the fire, he held a press conference and announced, "I'm running for mayor. Now let's put the show aside and take a look at the platform. Because it's one thing to shout and act offended. But that's totally different. What are you suggesting?" Officially, the race in Los Angeles is nonpartisan. There are no Republican or Democrat labels on the ballots there. My brother himself has been registered as a Republican since 1920, but in his campaign he carefully distances himself from the party, and he says, "I don't play national politics. I don't play party politics. I have local issues that concern me. Whether to believe this or not is up to you. But look, I repeat, you shouldn't look at the program but at the actions. Well, actually, you shouldn't look at the words but at the program and the actions. Let's put it that way, yes. And the program is this: more money for the police. Not less money for the police, but more money for the police. Less money for that homelessness-fighting industry in Los Angeles that is swallowing up hundreds of billions. But the homeless population isn't shrinking. With so much money and support, their numbers keep rising. Strictly, even jail time, and against street racing and intersection takeovers. The very ones where a crowd blocks the streets and puts on a show with burning tires. That happens here too. Unfortunately, it's far from where I am. I can't go and watch it, but I've heard about it. I saw it on TV. Cooperation with immigration services. Yes, cooperation with immigration services. Because, he says, guys, we have laws. They are enforcing the law. And I absolutely support kicking out people who came here without my permission. The fight against a new wave of super strong drugs, which, well, drive people out onto the streets as well. The city's readiness for fires, that's where it all started. And reducing costs for those who are trying to do business in this city. That is, creating a better business climate, which brings business here, which brings jobs here, which raises the standard of living. And a separate point that I want you to pay special attention to, because for our audience, it's not just empty words. Pratt directly promises to send additional police patrols to synagogues and Shabbat centers. Ladies and gentlemen, in a city where in recent years a Jew has stopped being sure that he is safe at home and at the synagogue, this is not an abstraction. This is a specific promise to specific people, and there aren't that many Jews for him to do this just to attract our votes. No. He simply believes this. You can agree with this list. You can argue. But here's what's important to understand. This is not the ravings of a madman. This is exactly the set of sore points that have gotten on the nerves of every resident of Los Angeles. Crime, homelessness, drugs, fires, high cost of living. He didn't make up these problems. He just stopped pretending they don't exist. Have you noticed how trolls have now shifted from posting in the comments to replying to other comments? They count on us still checking and reading anyway, but at first glance, say, for the owner or the channel or the people working with them, everything looks fine. There's nothing there. So it's very interesting. Now let me tell you a little about Reclama, actually about the advertisement that blew up the company. So I'll stop explaining and just show you. Here is probably his most famous video, the one that got, I think, 10 or more than 10 million views overnight. Pay attention to three things. First, where does he point the camera? To the houses of the current city administration and to the house of one of his rivals. Second, where does he point the camera next? To that very van, the trailer where his own family lives after the fire. And third, to the contrast itself, not to the words but to the image. Here is where they are, and here is where I am, and here is where you are too.
This is where Mayor Bass lives. Did you notice anything? Or here, where Nicky Ramon's $3 million mansion stands? They don't have to live in the chaos they've created where you live.
That's where I live. They let my house burn down. I know what failed leadership leads to. That's why I'm running for mayor for my sons and for all of us, the people of Los Angeles, who want to stop these corrupt politicians who are destroying our city. We will bring back the golden age of Los Angeles.
This is where Mayor Bass lives. Did you notice anything? Or here, where Nicky Roman's $3 million mansion stands? They don't have to live in the chaos they've created where you live.
This is where I live. They let my house burn down. I know what failed leadership leads to. That's why I'm running for mayor for my sons and for all of us, the people of Los Angeles, who want to stop these corrupt politicians from destroying our city. We will bring back the golden age of Los Angeles.
Do you have the recording?
Ojo Oku, is this serious?
This is official. You can wake up and follow the script now. Just remove my hat.
No.
Wait.
Is everything all right? By this you confirm under penalty of perjury that the above information is true and that you have all the necessary legal rights to be a candidate for the above-mentioned position. Excellent. You can sign right here, and you will come home with me too. Home. There will be 2 documents. They are all the same.
So, did you feel it? Did his opponents feel it? Instantly. The mayor's campaign immediately said that Pratt is pretending to be Trump. For her, that's an insult, of course. One of the opponents, a city council member, got upset that he was filming near her house where her small children live. On a human level, she could be right. So, basically, it's a low blow, below the belt, so to speak. But here's the trap they've all fallen into. When you have nothing to say, essentially, about the water, the hydrants, the empty reservoir, the trip to Africa, and in response you just say, but he's copying Trump. Or did he film there, at the house where my kids live? Aren't you, in fact, failing to hurt him at that point? By doing this, you're basically admitting that you have nothing to say in response. Nothing.
Возразить.
And now here's the video that, without exaggeration, made the entire political class of the state shudder. And right away, an important disclaimer, just so we're clear. And this video wasn't made by his campaign. It was made by an independent director using artificial intelligence and posted online. And Pratt saw it, reposted it with permission, but still reposted it, which means he signed off on it. Watch closely. A burning sign, Hollywood. On thrones like villainous aristocrats are recognizable California politicians. The current mayor is depicted as the Joker. A man in a uniform with the letters DSA. Hey, that's, well, the Democratic Socialists of America. They drag him away while he begs for help to rebuild his burned-down house, and those in power just laugh. And then he appears, in a Batman costume, of course, and goes to save the city. In the finale, the citizens pelt the dignitaries with tomatoes. The Secretary of State is standing at the DJ booth, and on the screen is the phrase that has become the campaign's slogan ever since. Los Angeles is worth saving. And now this phrase is associated with him.
Please, I'm begging you. Homeless drug addicts are near the schools. My children are at risk.
Listen, if you were a transgender migrant, I could get you a free pussy. Let's move the drug addicts closer. Pass has already defeated crime.
I support her.
Next.
Пожалуйста, я просто хочу восстановить свой дом. Прошло уже больше года.
Look.
This is a car. If we want to burn this city to the ground, drive through this.
I feel so close to you right now.
You can do it, Spencer.
Well, of course, it's a total circus, obviously. Cheap. Trained cars, deliberately rough. And here's what's amazing. Serious adult conservative commentators rush to call it brilliant. One said this was the ultimate example of what political advertising can be. And Jeb Bush, well, not the least person in the Great Party, a man from the very establishment, wrote that this is possibly the best political ad of the year. Think about it. The best political ad of the year is called a cartoon that was drawn in one evening by a program at the request of an enthusiast. And the millions of dollars that professional campaign teams spend on their polished videos don't catch anyone's attention. What does that say? It's all about the same thing. People miss being spoken to in a living language. Even if it's rough, even if it's vulgar. A living one who's for it. Interesting, right? On the right and on the left. Because he's not a Republican anymore, right? He used to be a Republican, and now he's just for the city, right? I'm just standing here waiting for the Trump tram. Now here's an interesting question. But who actually is for this person? And this is where what I wanted to tell you all along begins. On the right, President Trump himself spoke about him. He called him a big MAGA guy. So he immediately pulled him to his side. He said he's a character and I would like him to succeed. Well, actually, I would also like him to succeed. You'd think, just take the endorsement and run. And this is where Pratt makes a move that no one expected from a reality show villain. He avoids a formal endorsement from Trump, and then he comes out with a phrase that you want to write down. I don't need anyone's approval except yours. Reach out. This is to the residents of Los Angeles, not the party, not the president. By the way, that's actually pretty smart. He understands that Los Angeles is as blue as night. Blue is the color of the Democratic Party. The Trump label is not only a plus, but also a burden. And now on the left, right here, well, many of your friends will have their jaws drop. He was publicly supported and warmly spoken of by people you could never call right-wing, no matter how hard you try. Joe Rogan, Paris Hilton, actor Dennis Quaid. Pratt himself claims that he has Leonardo DiCaprio and Jamie Foxx on his side. The owners of the Lakers basketball team invested money in his company. Jeannie Buss, singer Catherine McPhee. In the evening, music producer David Foster held an event in his support. Boxer Manny Pacquiao was eager to attend. So to them, it's not a right-wing candidate versus a left-wing city. In front of them is a figure who, in some ways, stretches across all the usual lines. Hollywood stars and Trump supporters on one side, and on the other side, who? And on the other side, there's the apparatus, those very people, what do they call them? Yes, the nomenclatura. The current city administration stood against him, and former Vice President Kamala Harris spoke up for the mayor, declaring her the leader. The president called her the leader as well, against the one Los Angeles needs, I'd add, if Los Angeles wants to burn down another neighborhood. And the main force that stood against him were the labor unions. Well, of course, the largest union association in the county created a special committee with a wonderful name, Los Angeles Unions Against Spencer Pratt. And they invested $231,000 in digital advertising against him. Serious money, serious people, a serious mission to sink the upstart. Do you know what they achieved? I'll show you now and you can judge for yourself. Here's the video that the unions made against him. With union money so that voters would hate him. Pay attention to one thing. Listen to what they're accusing him of. And ask yourself on the go, is this an accusation or is it just accidental advertising?
Republican Spencer Pratt is the last thing Los Angeles needs as mayor. Pratt is against using taxpayer money to build new homes for the homeless, stating that it's time for them to either get help or get out. Pratt believes that Los Angeles needs more police officers, not social workers, and Republican Spencer Pratt is convinced that public sector unions should have less power. Los Angeles is on the right track, and we need to keep it that way. Vote against Republican Spencer Pratt.
Got it? He is blamed for being against endlessly pouring taxpayers' money into a failed system. What a jerk. He wants more police officers on the streets, the bloodsucker. He doesn't dance to the union's tune. Oh, what a scoundrel. So they listed to the voter, who is exhausted by crime, homelessness, and high prices, exactly the reasons why this voter will go and vote for Pratt. The internet exploded with laughter. So, ma'am, the guy who was walking around, that's an advertisement in favor. Or is it like, is that an advertisement against? Senator Tom Cruise, after watching this, said, this video will definitely help elect Pratt. How much was it? $21,000. Just to personally make a video to defend him. That's what happens when you're that out of touch. You've become so detached from people that what seems like a terrible insult to you is a dream for them. So when the mayor herself made a harsh remark against Pratt, against a man whose house, by the way, burned down, her own city called it disgusting, you understand the dynamic, right? They strike with full force and every blow is a punch in their own face. So why were they so scared? Now we've come to the main question, the reason why it's worth understanding all of this. Not like gossip about a TV star, but as a symptom. Why are people who have money, the system, unions, a former vice president, all the administrative resources of the bluest city in America, not the blue sea, but the bluest city in America, Why are they trembling before a former reality show villain? Look at the numbers. Soberly, without enthusiasm. A recent survey by the University of California, Berkeley, Los Angeles. The incumbent mayor has 26%. The rival from the city council, the progressive socialist candidate, has 25%. And Spencer Pratt has 22%. Well, you might think third place, right? Well, actually, all three are neck and neck, right? The primaries are on June 2nd. If no one gets more than half of the votes, the top two go to the second round in November. And this person, this clown, everything that's wrong with America, could actually make it to the second round for the position of mayor of the country's second largest city, in Los Angeles, where a Republican has never won at the citywide level. Well, I don't know, longer than many of you have been alive? That's what they're afraid of. It's not about Pratt the person. They're afraid that, those 22% voted for a TV villain in a city like this. It's not about the villain. It's a diagnosis of themselves. It means that every fifth voter is ready to vote, well, how should I put it, for anyone, as long as it's not the current leadership. And that's no longer a real choice. That's their distrust of the machine. Well, now I honestly have to tell you the other side as well, because I respect you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not going to sell you a fairy tale. The same polls that put Pratt into the runoff in the second round, they bury him. Why? Well, after all, we have what's called a blue city. One-on-one, both the mayor and, so to speak, with a gap of 25 points, 20 points. So making it to the second round and becoming mayor are, as they say, two very different things. As they say in Los Angeles, two very different things. It's quite possible that he won't become mayor. Well, yes. Somewhere over 90%. And he himself, after all, remains a showman to the core. When it came out that while filming videos as a humble fire victim in a trailer, he himself at that time was not living in a trailer, but in an absolutely luxurious Bel Air hotel. Believe me, it's a luxurious hotel. He didn't even try to make excuses. He switched gears on the fly and immediately made a parody. He called himself the Prince of Bel Air. Well, he's an artist. What can you expect from him, right? And do you remember another artist, the one in Ukraine? But we won't get into that. He was made there from the start. So why am I even taking up half an hour of your time on a person who will most likely lose? And here's why. A person who made a fortune on fake reality, on what is called staged reality shows, where everything is invented, thought out by scriptwriters. Suddenly he held up a mirror to this real fake reality. The city authorities, who for years staged a play for us called We Have Everything Under Control, while there was no water in the hydrants. And the mayor was posing at a reception on the other side of the planet. And it turned out that the person who played the villain all his life saw right through this play, ladies and gentlemen. Because he's from that world himself. You can't fool him with a facade or a stage performance. He's done it himself 100 times, stood there 100 times, both from this side and the other side. That's the lesson. It's much larger than Los Angeles. Any machine, no matter how established, how wealthy, how convinced it will last forever, you can ignore it right up until the day when enough ordinary, regular people stop laughing at it and start laughing along with the one who used to be laughed at. On that day, those at the top start to sweat. And no amount of 200,000 for advertising, no unions, no endorsements can help. Former vice presidents can no longer hide that sweat. Los Angeles is worth saving. It became the slogan not only of this cartoon, not only of this campaign, but of everyone who resists the current authorities. Probably it is. But I would put it more broadly, it's worth saving itself. A simple thought. The city is yours, the country is yours. And on the day you remember this, it doesn't matter who exactly is in the frame, Batman, a villain, or anyone else. What matters is that you stop applauding the show and start asking questions. And people who ask questions, as even this seemingly funny story shows, are the last ones. The very last thing that any authority truly fears. Let's see together how these elections will end. Yes, the primary is on June 2nd. I'll definitely come back to this. If you found it interesting, you know what to do. Stay tuned, subscribe, take care of yourself. Well, take care of yourself, pull yourself together, and hit the bell. That's it. And besides that, share these videos with your friends. Well, that's all. See you, to be continued.